Welcome back to the channel. Over at the body shop and trying to get the engine and tranny in the correct location in the Charger. So the one thing I did do was I got the Hellcat aluminum engine mounts and the rubber engine mounts, so everything is nice and centered. I had the tranny and transfer case, I think, too high in the car, so I cut a hole in the floor. I think this is where it needs to be, right here. I actually lowered it at around 6 inches from where it was. So what I was doing was I was using the stock Hellcat tranny mount and the stock Hellcat rubber isolator for the transmission. Using the Hellcat tranny mount and the tranny Crossmember was pushing this too high up. So in the Hellcat, it doesn't have an extra, I'm guessing it's around 2 feet of length. The drive shaft bolts to it, and the drive shaft actually has its own angle, and it has U-joints and everything like that. So what I think is happening when I bolt that, there's an extra 2 feet, which is putting this output on the transfer case, which would technically be way up here, way too high up in the transmission tunnel. So when I did bolt that, this was almost touching the top of this, which was way too high. You can see where the tranny carrier bearing bolts, and it was way above that. I mean, I think once I drop this down, it's going to be a lot better. It's going to give me a lot more room, especially with the front drive shaft. With that high, the drive shaft was protruding pretty far into the floor. Also, what I noticed was on the Trackhawks, the engine actually is kind of angled down. Jose is actually going to use an angle finder to figure out what that angle is, and then I could kind of fine tune it from there. But I want to go to Walmart. I need to grab a laser pointer, which I'm going to stick with a magnet to the back of the transmission and shoot a laser to the rear end. I think that's going to be my best bet, to have this thing pretty close to where I need it, and then I could also fine tune it from there, because I'm going to probably end up using a one-piece drive shaft. Where the carrier bearing bolts, it is it's only like, I'd say, another foot back around here, and that's way too close. There's not enough deflection for that, so there wouldn't be any way to actually use a carrier bearing in this system. So just going to use a one-piece drive shaft. It'll simplify stuff. The transfer case actually doesn't hang that low down, even at that height. You can see it right there. The tranny mount and Crossmember, I'm going to have to do something about that. Hangs way too low, so I'm going to pretty much just end up deleting that. And how the Trackhawk is, it's just a piece of stamped steel, and it goes way up. So I think that's probably the next route. Just get rid of this bulky Hellcat / Scat Pack tranny Crossmember. Josh had this jack ram thing. What are these things called, Josh?
Air jack.
Air jack for the front of the car, and it lifted it up just probably the right amount so I can get underneath it and adjust this tranny to where we need it. But you had some quick jacks, but we would have had to go get them. This was way easier. Got back from the junkyard, measured the rear end to the transmission. Looks like it's around 4 1/4. This has this slip joint right here, so I am going to cut it at 4 1/2, and then we could bolt it to the carrier bearing.
Yeah, it smells pretty bad.
All right, now stick this there. And this. Oh man, I didn't measure. Oh well, I don't know how that worked, but all right. Huh. I don't know what they say about.
Where is it? I can't even see.
Measure twice.
Cut one?
Yeah, it's like a foot short.
Did you cut once?
Yep.
and measure once?
Yep. Which is weird because it measured 4 foot, and that's 4 foot whatever. That's what I cut it. So I think I have the tranny, engine, transfer case pretty much where it needs to be. The one issue, actually not really an issue, it's lower than I thought it was gonna be, which is really nice because that front drive shaft won't protrude in the car as much. But Chris did some research on the, you have your phone?
Yeah.
Did some research on pinion angles, and I guess what I was trying to do at first was I was trying to angle the engine so it was in line with the diff, but now how I have it, it has an angle. So you don't want it to be in line, because if you have it in line like this, I guess it's a big issue. So you kind of want to have, you know, the engine and then the, I'm guessing the drive shaft from the pinion to have like the same angle is what it looks like. So, and that's kind of what it said in the description. But I think how this is right now, I could start boxing this in. What I need to do is actually grab the Trackhawk Crossmember, because I think I'm just going to end up cutting that apart. If you look under the car, I was going to try to use this Hellcat one, but it's not going to work. It hangs down way too low. And in the Trackhawk Crossmember actually comes way up. So that's going to work. I may actually end up making it a little bit tighter because I don't want a bunch of stuff hanging down. As you can see, the transfer case doesn't hang lower than this rail, which is nice. And I want to keep it that way so I could still kind of use factory exhaust. I'll have to make something go around this transfer case. All right, so I think we figured out what we need to do with the transmission crossmember. What's going on here is I have the Trackhawk original crossmember, which it's offset to clear the transfer case. This is the Hellcat / Scat Pack transmission crossmember, which are centered. So what I need it to do is to be able to bolt to the original Charger Challenger mounts, and then I need it to be tucked up in there. So this one actually hangs down way too far, and I need it to be half of that. But what I want to do is probably plasma cut 2 flanges, then go from those 45 and then just flat to make it almost like this. Then it'll be a lot more tucked up, and I'll probably add some bracing and stuff like that. But this was hanging way down too low, and even if I would have cut it, I just don't think it would have been that great. So also I need this spacing. See how these spacings are a little bit different, just to compensate for the transfer case. So I think what I need to do now is actually measure it, and I think that's gonna get us where we need to be. Now back home, so to make the tranny crossmember, or to see if I have the correct dimensions, what I have done is I drew out kind of what I want it to look like and the dimensions that I need it to be. So I'm gonna use SolidWorks. I do a lot of SolidWorks, so this should go pretty quick. And then I'm gonna 3D print the piece. So it's a little bit longer than my 3D printer can take because it only does 400 millimeters. And I think it's a little bit over that. I think it's like gonna be 500 millimeters. So it's a little bit over, so I could print it in 2 pieces. We'll see what happens. I'm probably just gonna end up printing one side and then the other side, and then I can glue them together. But what I really wanna do is get that one side down, and then I can see if everything is gonna be the correct height and when I have that bolted up in the car. So what I'm most likely gonna end up doing is actually going back, making a sheet metal part, and I can do that all in SolidWorks. I can do the print, everything that I need to do in SolidWorks, and hopefully I can find a company that can bend that sheet metal or that plate into a bracket for the transmission, and then I could have the transmission mount 100% done. Then I could go back and do the tranny tunnel tomorrow, get the tranny tunnel 100% done, and then bolt that tranny mount in. So that'll be 1+, the tranny will be bolted in 100%. Then I could start working on the subframe. So once the tranny tunnel is done, do the subframe, start doing the roof, and then we can get this car painted. So let's get to work on this. I guess you guys get to enjoy some SolidWorks really quick. just finished designing the transmission crossmember for the Trackhawk tranny to the Charger body, I guess is what you could say. So I actually had to, so on the driver's side, it has to be longer than it is on the Charger, but I needed it to be a little bit less shallow. So if you guys have ever seen the Charger Hellcat Scat Pack aluminum transmission crossmember, it's like 2 inches thick, which I was having an issue because with it that thick, I couldn't get the tranny was going up too high, and the tranny tunnel, because the transfer case is longer, it's like 1.5 feet longer. So what was happening was everything was too close, and then the drive shaft would have had this weird angle. So now this is going to lower it down where it's supposed to be. It sits almost exactly as it does in a Trackhawk. A guy that we know, we went by his house, checked out the Trackhawk, got some angles, took some measurements. Everything should be fine with this thing being 2 inches. So what I'm doing now, it's going to take, it says 11 hours 4 minutes, so it won't be in this video, but I am 3D printing. Man, it looks crazy because it's doing all kinds of stuff. But yeah, I'm 3D printing the transmission crossmember. It's going to add all this support material because it's a kind of a funky shape. I probably could have made it squared, but that's fine. It's going to take as long as it's going to take, and we'll have a transmission crossmember for the Charger in Monday's video, or Monday or Tuesday. We'll see what day it's going to come out, but I'm just really glad that this stage is almost complete. Then I could do the tranny tunnel. That is a big milestone in this project, just to get the transmission tunnel made, get the tranny bolted into the car. I'm just really happy that we're there. Once this is done, I could do the roof. Once the roof's done, we can paint the car. It's just getting really close. I'm trying to get this deadline met by the end of this month, have the body painted, which is very doable as long as I get progress on this continuously each day is what I'm trying to do. So in 11 hours, we'll have a transmission mount. As you can see, it's making all the infill material. I would love to record it, but GoPros don't last 11 hours. And in the next video, you'll see this part on the car. That's gonna end this video. Thanks for watching. Thumbs up, comment below, share with your friends. As always, see you guys next time.